Right, aloha and welcome to today's national webinar presented by the U.S. Administration for Native Americans, Native Languages in Early Childhood Settings, featuring the ACF Office of Head Start. Today is November 10th, 2016. So this webinar is being presented by the U.S. Administration for Native Americans, and ANA promotes social and economic self-sufficiency for Native Americans in two ways. First, by providing discretionary grant funding for community-based projects and training and technical assistance to eligible tribes and Native organizations. And secondly, through advocacy and policy development on behalf of Native Americans. And ANA's vision statement is for all Native communities to be thriving. And so they'll be working towards that vision ever vigilantly. And you can learn more about ANA on their website, which is listed there on screen. www.acf.hhs.gov/programs/ANA. Like we just mentioned, one of the ways that ANA helps its Native communities is through its TTA centers. My name is Matthew Ng, and I am presenting this webinar on behalf of ANA. I work here at the Pacific Region TTA Center. You can see me there on the right, along with the rest of my coworkers. We're based here in Honolulu, and we're really happy to be able to share this great resource with you all, especially for those of you who work with early childhood settings. And if you want to learn more about our Pacific TTA Center, you can visit our website there, www.anapacificbasin.org. ANA also operates regional training and technical assistance centers in 3 other regions. That's in Alaska, the western half of the continental U.S., and the eastern half of the U.S. So for today's webinar, we have 3 primary objectives. So the first is to learn more about strategies for teaching Native languages in early childhood settings, and we're going to do this by learning from a real grantee. With us today we have Nicole Boyd, the program director from the Red Cliff Early Childhood Center, who will share her experience working on a Native language project that's funded by both ANA and the Office of Head Start. And she'll be sharing some strategies and resources that you might be able to use in your own project. Our second objective is going to be to understand ANA's funding opportunities that support language education. ANA's funding period is coming up soon, so this might be a good time to prepare yourself for applying for a Native language grant from the Administration for Native Americans. And we'll also learn about resources from the ACF Office of Head Start that are available to Native organizations, and we are really excited to be able to feature directors from Region 11, the AIAN region, from the Office of Head Start to share some of those resources with us today. And so to start this off, I'd like to introduce Ms. Mia Strickland. As the director of the Division of Program Operations, Mia Strickland played an integral role in coordinating and overseeing the drafting of new FOAs. She has more than 15 years of professional experience in the financial assistance field and previously held positions at the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and in the Office of the Secretary. She gained invaluable experience in grant management and operations while working in the private sector at the American Indian Higher Education Consortium, a nonprofit organization representing the nation's tribal colleges and universities, and CSR Incorporated, a government contractor. She is a member of the Lumbee tribe of Northern Carolina and has one son who graduated from high school in 2012. She's the oldest daughter of W.J. and Barbara Strickland, both also enrolled members of the Lumbee tribe. At this time, I'll pass it off to Ms. Strickland to talk more about ANA and Native languages.
Thank you, Matt. I'm just laughing at my picture because it's exactly how I look like right now. I'm sitting at my desk and talking to you guys through my computer here. So Thanks for that nice introduction. Again, my name is Mia Strickland, and I've been here at ANA for not quite 5 years, but 5 funding cycles. So it's an exciting job to be able to make grant awards to Native communities. And one of our areas of funding includes Native language. ANA, the Administration for Native Americans, is authorized to provide grant funds under the Native American Programs Act, also known as NAPA. Section 2991 small b-3 provides for the grant programs to ensure the survival and continuing vitality of Native American languages. And the purposes of those funds are to establish and support community-based language projects for Native American Indian languages to bring older and younger Native Americans together to facilitate and encourage the transfer of those language skills from one generation to the next, as well as to support language nests, language survival schools, and language restoration programs. And in our next slide, I'll talk a little bit more about our specific FOAs that do that. Our funding opportunities, we call them FOAs, Funding Opportunity Announcements, primarily for Native languages, our preservation and maintenance, as well as our Esther Martinez. Both of these programs are found or also listed in the Catalog of Federal Domestic Assistance. That's that acronym that you see, CFDA. If you're not familiar with the Catalog of Federal Domestic Assistance, you can find it online at cfda.gov. That is a government-based website that has all financial assistance programs across all the agencies. And so it's really an encyclopedia. If you're ever looking for funding, you should start at the cfda.gov. Federal agencies are required to update it annually, so it does stay current and relevant. But our programs related to Native languages are found at CFDA number 93.587, specifically to promote the survival and continuing vitality of Native American languages. So based off of that CFDA number, we came up with 2 funding opportunity announcements. Our Native American Language Preservation and Maintenance, also known as P&M, is our broadest Native language program. So you can do a variety of projects under P&M, such as just Native language instruction, teacher development, or certification. Maybe you want to develop electronic tools, CDs, apps, language apps, so people can download them on their iPhone and carry them around and learn their native language, games, so all kinds of technology related to native language. There's really no limit on the types of projects or ways you go about preserving your native language. So it's a very broad, we just want community-based projects. So however your community has determined it wants to be able to preserve its language, you can do that under our P&M FOA. And we have forecasted that opportunity. You'll find that on grants.gov. And you can search under the number that I have listed here. That will be the FY17 FOA, what we call a funding opportunity number. And then our next program is the Native American Language Preservation and Maintenance, Esther Martinez Immersion. Now, EMI, Esther Martinez Immersion, based off of one of the early advocates of Native American languages, Esther Martinez. This particular funding opportunity is more focused to actually provide immersion-type instruction on 2 different levels, including language nests, which serves our 0 to 5 population, so our early childhood education, early child development ages, And then, or you can also propose to do a survival school, native language survival school, which is more of your elementary on up school-based site instruction. Both of the native language nest as well as the survival schools require a minimum of 500 hours of instruction for about no less than 10 students. And so there's other specific requirements in that funding opportunity announcement that is specifically for EMI. So if you're not targeting that type of specialized project, I encourage you to look more at our preservation and maintenance funding opportunity announcement. And so ANA is often looked to as a leader in terms of as a top funder for native languages, as well as we try to provide additional resources to support applicants as well as our existing grantees as they implement their projects. So we've come up on the ANA website, we have a resource library which has lots of things that ANA does, but some of them that are specific to native languages includes our 2014 Native Language Project Compendium, which we had prepared in advance of a Native Language Summit that we held. And so that has a sort of a summary of all the ANA funded projects for native languages up until the year 2014. So if you want to see the variety of projects ANA has funded related to native languages, I encourage you to look for the compendium under our resource library. And there's also a specialized handbook for language nests. So those are just a couple of samples of the things you can find under our resource library related to native languages. We also hold webinars such as this one from time to time that have a focus on native languages. So you can find our archived ANA webinars that we've held in the past at that link that I provided on the presentation slide. And as Matt said, we do have regional training and technical assistance centers who also have experts who can guide you as you're considering developing a project maybe related to native language grant, or maybe you have a native language grant but you need additional support and assistance. And our regional TA centers can connect you perhaps with other grantees who are doing similar work. So they're just an all-in-out really great resource that can help connect our grantees and support them in their efforts. ANA and as you know, the Office of Head Start is a partner in this webinar today, and we're proud to partner with them. But we don't partner with them on a single day basis. We have an ongoing partnership because we are two agencies within the Administration for Children and Families that have a strong focus on supporting our Native American communities. So we like to collaborate, and here's a few ways in which we do that collaboration. As you'll find out later in this program, the Head Start Region 11 serves all American Indians and Alaska Natives specifically, and so many of their grantees are also ANA grantees. So those projects have been able to receive 2 awards, separate awards, but they're able to combine some of that project funding to do work related to native language preservation, and I think our grantee is going to talk about that a little bit more later on. We also, ANA is a member of the American Indian Alaska Native Head Start Collaboration Advisory Council, which actually is wrapping up a 2-day meeting in which we talk with other partners such as NIEA, who have an interest in ensuring our youngest people, our youngsters, are able to get native language instruction at such an early age when they're in their most formative and developmental years, and so that language is more easily absorbed. And so we meet with the through the advisory council to talk about ways that each of us are working and figure out other ways that we can network and share resources. And ANA also meets regularly as part of the ACF Early Childhood Division, including the Office of Head Start, so that we internally at ACF can coordinate our resources and support for early childhood native language programs. And we're also exploring ways that we can provide joint training and technical assistance. So, for example, if we know our TA is going out and there happens to be a Head Start center or a local Head Start, maybe we can partner with the Head Start TA provider to provide additional services. Or if they're going out to our communities, we can say, hey, here's what's going on with their ANA grant. Can you check on that as well? So we want to be able to, really dovetail and work more collaboratively together so that it's more streamlined for our grantees. And with that, I will turn it over to you, Matt.
Thanks a lot, Mia. And just to let you all know, we will be sharing this PowerPoint if you want to check out some of those resources in detail. And we'll also be covering those resources towards the end of the webinar. And at this time, I am proud to introduce Ms. Angie Godfrey from the Office of Head Start. Angie Godfrey is the Regional Program Manager for Region 11, which covers American Indian and Alaska Native communities. Angie began her work with tribal communities 15 years ago, and her commitment to tribes has been unwavering. Angie has previously served as the Office of Head Start, as Federal Early Head Start / Infant Toddler Lead since 2008. She played a key leadership role in the funding and implementation of the Early Head Start Child Care Partnership Initiative. From 2000 to 2004, Angie worked with AIAN staff and grantees, providing ongoing support and expertise in implementing EHS programs across tribal communities. From 2004 to 2008, Angie served as TA coordinator and manager for AIA. And as Mia said, we are proud to be able to feature the Office of Head Start through Ms. Godfrey today. So please take it away.
Thank you very much, Matt, and we are very glad to be here today, and particularly glad that you all will get to hear Nicole in a little bit. So I will just tell you a little about our Region 11. We serve, first about the Office of Head Start. We serve both Head Start and Early Head Start. We're a birth to 5 program. We support cognitive, social, and emotional development of children from birth to age 5. And Head Start and Early Head Start programs offer a variety of service models, providing comprehensive services through that meet the needs of local communities. They're based in centers and schools, child care centers, family child care homes, and they're really, each program is designed to meet the needs of the community. Local communities decide what works is particularly best for them. It's very important that as we provide funding, that we're engaging with both the child and the family and the community, and it's just an important part of the work that we do. So just to give you a little history, Head Start started working with American Indian Alaska Native communities in 1965. Today, more than 44,000 children of AIAN heritage are served both in AIAN Region 11 programs and in non-tribal programs. Region 11 serves 22,000 children in 156 programs across the country. We're in 26 different states, and we serve programs with treaties with the United States government. They are tribal programs, primarily on reservations, but we also serve consortia of programs too. The Office of Head Start honors rich cultural heritage of AIAN children, families, and communities, and based on the needs of local communities, Head Start programs offer traditional language and cultural programs to provide high-quality services to young children and their families. And although, unlike ANA, we don't provide language grants specifically, we do have a structure and regulations within Head Start so that programs can offer traditional language, and we do encourage language in the classroom and integration of language in their curriculum. So our relevant funding opportunities, as I said, we do not do specific fundings around language, but we do offer regular funding. Right now, we just closed an opportunity that was for early Head Start childcare partnerships. We serve 14 right now. We're hoping to have more there in tribal communities across the country. And again, you can get more information about us at OHS funding at grants.gov. And then the last slide before I turn it over to others at OHS, these are relevant resources. These are language resources that you'll find important and valuable in terms of working with tribes and integrating with early Head Start or Head Start. We know that it's important in our programs. Currently, about 40 of the 156 programs that I mentioned earlier have a strong language program, and we really work with them and encourage them to use our resources to support Native and heritage language in their programs, and we see it as one of the most important resources that we can provide as an opportunity to help programs with their language. And a lot of that work goes on between the grantees and their program specialists, and I'm really happy now to introduce Janae Ferguson. She's a program specialist for Red Cliff. She works closely with Nicole in her program, and she's going to introduce Nicole to you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Angie. Hi, my name is Janae Ferguson, and I'm the program specialist from Office of Head Start, Region 11, American Indian and Alaska Native, working with Miss Nicole Boyd, the Head Start Director at Red Cliff. Nicole Boyd is a tribal member born and raised on the Red Cliff Band of Lake Superior Chippewa Indians Reservation. Ms. Boyd has worked with the Red Cliff Early Childhood Center since 2008, starting in the Family Services Department and becoming a Head Start Director in January 2014. When she's not working, she spends her time with her husband and kids and stays involved in other community activities. Ms. Boyd is currently on the school board for her local school district, the Tribal Health Board, the Tribal Board of Education, and she leads a local Girl Scouts troop. She has an undergraduate degree in social work and a Master's of Tribal Administration and Governance degree. Ms. Boyd enjoys working at the Early Childhood Center, where she gets to be around her community's most precious assets, the children, and work partners helping to prepare children and families to become lifelong learners while teaching traditional Ojibwe values and teachings. I'm delighted to be the program specialist for Red Cliff. They are a wonderful program and serves as a model program for other grantees that I work with.
Thank you, Janae. This is Nicole Boyd. Bonjour, everyone, and miigwech for having me here with you all today. It's very exciting to be able to share some of the really great things happening with the children and the language learning that's occurred throughout the ANA grant periods. Here at the Red Cliff Early Childhood Center, we have Early Head Start Center and Home-Based, Head Start, CCDF, and the ANA program for the last 6 years. We serve 118 children ages 0 to 5, 50 of them in Head Start. In the background of this slide is what you hear when I say Red Cliff, Misquabi-Kong. It means the Red Cliffs, where we're from. We're nestled along the shores of Lake Superior and the Apostle Islands at the northernmost point of the state of Wisconsin. Our tribe is very small, with only around 1,500 members living on or near the reservation. There are no fluent first language Ojibwe Moan speakers that are still living or even residing in our community. First language speakers have come to live in our community over the last 6 years to support the language revitalization efforts here at the Early Childhood Center and through our ANA program. They have not only provided language to our center, but cultural teachings, ceremonies, and everlasting relationships. We have been and will continue to forever be grateful for the gifts that they have given to all of us here in Red Cliff. So Red Cliff received its first ANA grant in 2010. We began working directly with the children in the Early Head Start Center-based program. We have 4 Early Head Start classrooms. We serve 32 children ages 0 to 3 in them. The ANA staff began working directly with the infants and the youngest children, exposing them to as much of the Ojibwe language as they could. The grant gave us the ability to hire fluent Ojibwe language instructors and 1 part-time director and part-time assistant teacher to assist with curriculum and assessment development and direct services to children, staff, and families. The continuity of the same director across both grant periods was really a vital piece to the success of our objectives. He was able to work with the same cohort of children and families over a 6-year time frame. In addition, the continuity of the same person provided the opportunity to build relationships with classroom teachers, with our various champion language learners throughout our community, and with other agencies, and with the extended community. Mr. Reggie, as the children call him, provided not only exposure to the language, but also the exposure to a positive and culturally rich male role model. Here he's pictured with one of his own children at our weekly mini powwow that he has held here at the ECC for the last 6 years. The 82 center-based children that are with us year-round are exposed to the language all day, every day. Some of our teaching staff, oh, someone's moving me ahead. Some of our teaching staff is very advanced, and some are just beginning. So we make sure to surround them with as many resources as we can. Staff take the time to find resources that suit their learning style. It may be attending an in-person language table, sitting one-on-one with a fluent instructor, or learning from the many books and audio resources that we have. We also see a lot of peer teaching occurring. The photos here are of 2 different classrooms. One has physically written all the commonly used words right onto their wall as you enter the classroom. And another room is constantly updating their classroom labels to learn new phrases. These are just some examples, and they're all available for parents as they enter and exit the building. The one with the words painted right on the wall has really gotten a lot of compliments. So in addition to being with the children in the classrooms, we felt it was essential to teach the parents and families to support the language in the homes. Language tables were the primary source of teaching for our parents. I want to explain a little about what a language table may look like. Some people have their own experiences, but our Thursday evening language tables with our community had a combination of social gathering and intentional teaching time. We typically started at 4:30 with social drumming. Mr. Reggie would bring out the big drum and all males were welcome to join him. There was a lot of visiting and catching up that happened during this time with the language table participants. And since the language tables were literally right after the working day for most families, from 5 to 5:45 we would have a potluck feast. We would provide some sort of main dish, and then participants would bring dishes to share. And then from 6 to 7 we would have intentional language instruction. The ANA teachers had a pre-planned lesson for the session, typically following the outcomes of the lattice session. We did everything at language tables, from locally designed worksheets to games to translating songs, translating words and phrases in Ojibwe Moan that family members could then take home and use. And one thing that participants really enjoyed was having the opportunity to make labels, just given that time. It felt like we were always making labels for people to take home. Language table, in addition, was held in various locations and times throughout the week. But by far our most attended one was our Thursday night. And in the 15-16 school year, our weekly language tables averaged about 16 people a week, a high of 29 at one point, and we had 63 unique individuals attend our Thursday night language table. It may not sound like much, but to a small community like ours, that was a lot of people to get together to rally around learning language. The ASLA model that you see mentioned here, the Accelerated Second Language Acquisition, is a model that Dr. Gray Morning developed, a teaching method that our community passionately responded to. We had a 3-day in-person training with all of our staff here at Early Head Start and Head Start and our ANA, and everyone was so pumped. The method provided the perfect blend of pictorial and oral learning that we all felt was something that worked for us. And the teachers continue to use it. They have binders in their classrooms of photos, and then it's a real repetitive style. So I really encourage everyone to research this model and also reach out for his training. So developing age-appropriate assessments was a very important part of the ANA and Head Start program's collaboration. Staff from our Early Head Start, and ANA came together to identify what Ojibwe Moan we were already teaching, what we wanted to intentionally teach, and how we were going to assess the validation of our efforts. Children, families, staff, and all language table participants completed pre- and post-assessments each school year. Through assessment, we were able to measure acquisition of Ojibwe language development and analyze where to make changes to program implementations. The Early Head Start assessments are completed with all center-based children ages 6 weeks to 3 years of age. Teaching staff are all trained and responsible for administering the assessment, which is observation-based. Aggregated and analyzed data has shown us that children attending our center-based program are very receptive to the Ojibwe language, mostly providing non-verbal responses to other adults when they say bonjour, hello, gigawabaman, see you later, gawin, no, beka, stop, ambeoma, come here, Geget, yes, Namataben, sit, Namuj, more, Dudushabu, milk, and Nuni Dudushabu, breast milk. The children began attempting to express and imitate Ojibwe Moan words as early as the 1 to 2-year-old classroom. Probably even earlier in our infant classroom, there's children making expressive sounds. In addition, our staff is trained in sign language to support the language development. The combination of nonverbal language and Ojibwe Moan has been noted to be a factor in the success of the reception of our Ojibwe Moan in our younger kiddos, including our Head Start age. Our assessment gathers receptive, emerging, and expressive uses of language in daily words, colors, numbers, food and food items, shapes, and animals. In addition, we ask staff to know any individual additional words or phrases they may be using that children understand, such as a lot of commands at this age. The Head Start assessments are completed twice a year by the teaching staff. Aggregated and analyzed data has shown us that our kiddos in our school, ages 3 to 5, can respond to multiple step directions. For example, take off your jacket, wash your hands, and then sit at the table, all in Ojibwe Moan. The children repeat many phrases, particularly commands such as line up, come here, clean up, good job, wash your hands, brush your teeth. In addition, teaching Ojibwe language through songs has been instrumental. The children learn colors, numbers, animals, body parts, weather, feelings, and many daily instructions are sang in Ojibwe Moan. We have really creative songs that I won't attempt to sing. Pictured here on this slide are some of our Head Start kiddos during our annual Sugar Bush season. Each year we take the children to a local area. We let them tap the maple trees and collect maple sap. We return the sap to the center where we evaporate and we process our own maple syrup here at the school with the children. This annual tradition practice has become one of the most participated in activities that our program hosts. Parents, community members, other agencies, and tons of volunteers come forward to make this a fantastic learning opportunity for our kids. Pictured here is one of our conservation wardens, and he's a tribal member. He enjoys collaborating with us every year. He enjoys teaching the kiddos about woodland protection, traditional teachings, and just being a good Anishinaabe who enjoys the gift of making maple syrup. The A&A program has supported every effort of the Sugar Bush season by assisting teachers with classroom assignments. We have a specific curriculum development through the Making It Work process, and by ensuring that we're always doing things in the good traditional way. So self-assessments are completed and developed for parents, staff, and language table participants. The assessment asks a variety of open-ended questions, both in Ojibwe Moan and English, to identify a pre- and post-assessment of our adult learners. The results are provided us an increased awareness for teachers to better address areas of strength and weakness for improved outcomes. The parents were better able to give feedback about what they wanted to learn at language tables. The Early Head Start and Head Start programs were reading the question, we're able to better allocate training assistance money. So we have training and technical assistance money from our Early Head Start and Head Start grant that we allocate for professional development and group training. The A&A program has provided assistance for community members and our staff to attend the annual Anishinaabe Moana TIG conference that's held annually in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, a conference that brings Ojibwe Moan speakers together from all over Indian country. So in addition to the weekly language tables and the direct services in the classrooms, the A&A program supports efforts to revitalize the Ojibwe language through participation in support of community events, regional events. The ECC's Winter Gathering is one example. A collaborative language camp we hold here in Red Cliff every year follows our traditional powwow. And the ECC's annual summer gathering that's been occurring for the last 7 years. The summer gathering really has become a highlight of our end of our program year. It's an outdoor event. We hold it over 3 days. We bring in various cultural providers to teach different activities such as dream catcher making, cradle board making, hand drum making, birch bark work, language lessons, storyboards. We have brought in a petting zoo and a variety of other kid and family friendly cultural projects. The final day we always hold a mini powwow, and we also really enjoy putting on skits for our families that Mr. Reggie has been able to narrate for us in Ojibwe Moan. So the A&A program has provided so many resources to our Early Head Start and Head Start programs over its 6 years. It's really great to be thinking about these things and sharing them with you. I've shared with you about the classroom time, the time with our staff and community, but they've done so much more than that. They have provided Ojibwe Moan dictionaries for all participants or any recipient seeking to learn the language. They've provided a ton of different literacy resources, such as children's books, language curriculum books, and they've also provided incentives for participants, which we have learned do work. But people really continue to come because they care and they're passionate about reviving the language. The incentives turn into really an added bonus. Together, toward the end of each grant period, so the 3 years, we worked hard to develop materials that would allow staff to continue developing their language skills upon the unfortunate end of our ANA program. We have a common drive that all computers on our network have access to. We house all of our Ojibwe Moan resources that we've developed over the years there, and we're also working on e-filing all the materials in the former ANA office to ensure that all staff have access to them. We did apply for an ANA NLCC grant that wasn't funded, so we are working hard to try and fill in the gaps as much as we can, but we know that we'll not be able to sustain the ANA efforts. Unfortunately, we just don't have the funds to do that. For now, we're doing the best we can, and we're continuing all and any language use in the classrooms and in the community. Pictured here on this final slide is the annual traditional feather spirit pulse ceremony that we hold here at the Early Childhood Center. Our ANA staff has been very supportive in facilitating the ceremony every year, and it brings our children and our extended community together to participate in this annual ceremony of renewing our tree. These are some of our teachers and our elders here, along with Mr. Reggie, and this is what I leave you with, and I thank you so very much for listening, and my contact info is available here, and then I'll be taking questions. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much, Nicole, for sharing. This contact info here I'll have on screen at the end of the PowerPoint, and I'll also be sending out the PowerPoint to everyone who registered. So thanks, Nicole, for sharing all of those stories and strategies. A lot of amazing stuff happening there at Red Cliff. Those language tables seems like a very inspiring model. Some great types of assessments for kids at that age, and even like strategies like using sign language and nonverbal skills. Just I think things that we could all apply to projects working with this type of community demographic. So just thank you very much for sharing. At this time, we will be moving into our Q&A session. This will go on for about 10 minutes. So if you have any questions, you can type them into the chat box on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. We have representatives from ANA and OHS if you have any questions about funding or agency resources. And Nicole will also be on the line to answer questions about her project at Red Cliff. And we do have a couple of questions already in, so I'll start with the first from Betty. Betty asks, Nicole, can you talk about certification of your staff, teachers, native language teachers, aides, and others? Nicole?
Sure, thanks, Betty. So the teachers here that are early Head Start and Head Start teachers, of course, are teachers that have completed an early childhood degree. And then our ANA language teachers are typically fluent elders. They are not primary teachers in the classroom, so they don't require early childhood degrees. And then all of our aides and such are also meeting our requirements as a teacher would. So yeah, the language teachers, when we write their degree, we write fluent. That's kind of how we title them. Thanks.
Awesome, thanks for that, Nicole. We have another question from Betty. What is your registration process and costs per child, i.e. is it limited to the children of Red Cliff, and do the Red Cliff children have tuition assistance?
Thanks, Betty. So the kiddos enrolled in Early Head Start and Head Start, we are obviously compliant with the Head Start performance standards, and so we do have an application process. The application is identifying different eligibility criteria, including a service area criteria and an income eligibility, and then other local risk factors that we identify within our management staff here that we feel really are putting children at risk. Also, we have our kiddos that may have a diagnosed disability or a potential disability based on the risk factors that they have. The Early Head Start program has no cost to families, so there's no tuition. It's a free program, and so the children, once they're enrolled, they stay enrolled, and we continue to serve them through our Early Head Start and Head Start programs.
Excellent. And maybe that might tie into Betty's next question, which was about a sustainability plan. So do you think that you might be instituting some type of tuition in the future to sustain your project? Or what other types of sustainability strategies have you considered?
So, like I mentioned in the presentation, we did meet, we were trying to prepare for the event that we were not refunded. And so developing those resources that were accessible was really important to us. And then kind of highlighting some of the training and in-services that we were able to fund through our A&A program and blending them into what we have in Head Start and Early Head Start as our training plan. So we received training and technical assistance money, and we knew that it was a focus, and it's where families want us to build our strengths. So those are some of the things we've done. And then there's been ongoing assessments, so we tried to build that into our education plans to make sure that the assessments were still going to be completed, that we're still analyzing the data, that it's just being not dumped by the wayside, but it's still continuing.
Awesome. Thanks, Nicole. The next question comes from Abriana Tubby. What are some topics parents want to learn during the language table?
So we have had historical language table sort of lessons in our community, and it wasn't a brand new idea. It's something that we expanded on because people enjoyed it. They really like to learn some of those conversational, hello, how are you? Where are your children? Where are you going? What are you doing? In addition to those regular basic things, colors, numbers, animals, the weather. People really enjoy the weather. The time. We spent a lot of time learning, our days of the week, what time of the day it is, when are you going to do this? And then, so those are what parents learned. So in the classrooms, we're learning more about commands, or how to say this is what our day is going to be like, or this is going to be the plan for the day. And so a lot of those commands have been what I've seen surface with the teachers wanting to learn their language tables.
Thanks, Nicole. Next question comes from Pua, who asks, can you expand on the 12-step language learning program, please?
Yeah, so our latest language instructor, a fluent language teacher that we had here along with our director, they have this 12-step program that they have gathered and built for us. And I'm looking at it now, and I'll just say them quick. So like the first thing that we teach families is really, in our language, we have a double vowel pronunciation. So we really want them to be able to have that foundation of how you speak the language, what it sounds like. It's a very auditory language. It hasn't been written historically, so it's okay when people write the word in a different way. The second one we have is a sound chart. So it's just kind of letting you know what the sound is similar to. Then we have our self-assessments as our third step. We have basic introductions as our fourth. We have parent introductions as our fifth. We have, let me look here. We have the How We Live curriculum. So it just teases out, are you a man, woman, child, boy, girl, teenager, elder? And then we have in our culture and our language, it's very important that we teach our grandfather teachings. So that's our seventh step. For our eighth step, we have the extended family tree. So how are we related? What is our kinship? It's very important when you're introducing somebody to each other that you know that you can say, this is my mom, my dad, my grandpa, my grandma. For our ninth step, we have the animals and farm animals. So we take local animals and we make sure that the participants are understanding that these are the primary introductory animals that you should know as a teacher here. The 10th step are birds. We have a lot of birds in our community, as every community does. So there's just a list for people to see. Our 11th step is to provide action words to those people trying to learn. And then for the 12th step, we use prepositions. So we're identifying, is it on top of, behind, underneath. And so those are available to anyone at any time. They can always access them. Yeah, in addition, I'm looking at our shared file now, and we have a variety of other things on here that we have recorded. So there's a lot of videos on here. We have puppet shows. As I mentioned, Mr. Reggie, we would perform skits, and he would be the narrator, and they would be all in Ojibwe Moan, So we do skits that people know. Jack and the Beanstalk, the Three Bears and Goldilocks, things like that. So that's the 12-step program. That's what we call it. I know it's kind of corny, but that's how we say it. Thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks. That's actually a really good logic for project design in general. Okay, so the next question comes from Carol Bellamy. And Carol asks, do you partner with the programs in your community that children transition to, particularly to kindergarten? So I'll direct this question to Nicole, but maybe Janae could also chime in to talk about, how other Head Start programs transition children to the next level of education. So we'll start with Nicole and then Janae after that.
Thanks, Carol. Yeah, so the children that are leaving our center are transitioning into the local public school. Pretty much 99% of them go to the local school. And so the school has made pretty instrumental strides in addressing language and culture in the building. And I know this not only because I'm on the school board, but because I'm a parent there, and I've been involved in Tribal Board of Education for a long time, where I have seen the relationship between the school district, which is non-tribal, and our early childhood center, which is tribal program. So we have a lot of transition activities occurring, but I think what you're referring to, and I'm thinking that you're referring to this, is in terms of the language use. So in one of the slides, you saw the schedule of language tables, and those were, you could see that we hosted one language table specifically with the district. So it was really cool. They were coming to our Thursday night language table, and then we said, you know what, we could really host one right with you guys. And so we had more of their staff coming, because they know that this is what the families want and the community wants, is there to be more language, more culture, more just even awareness of how we can support the kiddos that are coming from our pretty much fully culturally emerged setting here to the district setting, which we all know can be very sterile and not as engaging in terms of language and culture. We share curriculum with them. The ANA program also, the staff went up there and they would host powwows. So, and also we have the ultimate transition, and it was unfortunate for us, but fortunate for the district that when our ANA grant ended, Mr. Reggie became employed by the school district as a middle school science teacher. So he is continuing with the language and the culture up at the district. The district also has a few other Native studies instructors there. So they by far are not where we are in terms of culture and language immersion, but there are efforts being made and the community appreciates and recognizes that. Janae?
I'm sorry, I was just trying to get my speakers off mute, but as Nicole said, most of the communities that we work with, they support the language in the program. And I know for some schools, some of the Head Start programs, they have their own tribal schools. So of course, when they're having events as far as incorporating the language, they make it available to the other school districts and as well as the parents and community members.
All right, thank you both. Okay, so we have time for one more question, and this comes from Lambert. And this question is, which indigenous communities or tribes are leading in language preservation and or recovery? And who should we be modeling our efforts after? Obviously, Red Cliff is an excellent model for early childhood education, but are there other communities that you've witnessed doing a good job? And maybe I'll start with Nicole here. Then we could go to Mia and then Janae. And this will be.
Sure. So one of the tribes in the state here of Wisconsin, Lakota, they're about an hour and a half south of us, so they're still pretty northern in the state of Wisconsin. They have a beautiful, beautiful language immersion elementary school. They have fully fluent instructors there. Everything is all in the Ojibwe language. That's their language also. And so we have reached out to them and we've had their staff here for training. They are fully immersion. I mean, when we go there, you can't speak English in their classrooms. So that's been a program that we have really, really looked to. In addition, one of the colleges in Minnesota has a Language Nest program at the University of Minnesota Duluth. We have toured their facility also. There's tons of research, and we all know the immense results of immersing infants and toddlers in a second or first or third language. We have at times in our school have children who are trilingual. And so I'm really on the model of partnering with your early childhood facilities, whether it be your daycares or some of the other early childhood facilities like Head Start and Early Head Start, or colleges have a lot of early childhood programs.
Hi, this is Mia. I'll chime in a little bit. We serve a broad community here at ANA, so I don't want to. Red Cliff, you guys are phenomenal, and so you're being modest by not even claiming yourself as a fine example of a model. But I think you've been able to demonstrate today how successful you've been with your projects. So I would just point Lambert to the 2014 compendium. Every ANA-funded project is very community-specific in what they propose to do and how they go about it. But because they're all working on native languages in general, there are some commonalities and similarities. And we are trying to promote ways in which we can connect all of our native language grantees virtually so that they can be resources to each other if they're coming up on challenges of how do you promote parent involvement, or how did you develop this app, or whatever the comment, or how do you develop your language assessment tools. I mean, so we do have a Google-based native language virtual community, so that's another resource. But I would encourage you to also look at the compendium that I talked about earlier to see the variety of projects and see if one of those meets your needs. Most of our grantees are open to having folks call them and sharing the information about what they were able to achieve. So not a specific answer, but I would just point you to our current list of grantees as well as that 2014 compendium, because we do describe what they're trying to do, and that will sort of give you more information to see what meets your needs.
Hi, this is Janae. I agree with Mia. Currently, I only work with the Head Start grantees in the state of Wisconsin, and as she said, it really depends on the needs of your community. Each of my programs are doing something very different, but like I said, at Red Cliff, they're an excellent program, and what I have my programs do, if they're doing something that's different from another program, and if another different program want to know how something for them is working and what can they do to kind of improve their program, I kind of like to get my programs to work together. I know Nicole said that they had a different program come and model them or shadow them, so I kind of encourage my programs to do things like that. So like I said, it depends basically on what the needs are of your communities or what it is you're trying to establish. So I don't know, I can't give a specific answer, but I know off the top of my head, Red Cliff, Lac du Flambeau, and Lac-Courte are doing excellent in that field.
All right. Well, thank you all for providing your feedback to all of those great questions. This session is being recorded, and so you can listen back to those answers later. And we will be sending out links to some of those resources immediately after this webinar, and also sending out the PowerPoint that we used today. So at this time, we'll be closing the webinar. Some additional resources that you might want to check out if this content interested you. For ANA, you might want to check out the some of the funding opportunities that Mia mentioned, the ANA Preservation and Maintenance, or PNM grant, which covers Native Language Preservation and Maintenance, or the Esther Martinez Initiative, or EMI funding opportunity, which focuses primarily on immersion style learning, or language nests. And you might also want to look at a SEDS grant if your project qualifies for that, which is Social and Economic Development Strategies. And you can learn more about that on ANA's website. We also do these types of webinars each month. So we'll do at least 2 webinars per month. And all of those webinars are recorded and posted on the ANA website. Some of the ones that might interest you are community-based planning, language assessment and proficiency tools, which focused mainly on, as you can tell, the assessment and proficiency tools, and starting a language program. And in addition to the resources that Mia mentioned, which were the Native Language Project Compendium and the Language Nest Handbook, you can find more language-related resources at the website listed there on screen, acf.hhs.gov/ANA/resource/native language resources. You might also want to check out our nonprofit toolkit, which was just recently updated and includes a lot of resources just for managing and starting a nonprofit. And like Mia mentioned, we also operate an online community for native language school administrators or individuals just focused on revitalizing native languages. And you can find that in the follow-up email that I'll send. The Office of Head Start also offers many resources in their Early Childhood Learning and Knowledge Center. You can find that at the website. They're listed on screen, eclkc.ohs.acf.hhs.gov. Some of those resources include the Tribal Language Report, a report on tribal language revitalization, native and heritage language preservation, revitalization and maintenance data, and general resources for American Indian and Alaska Native Head Start and Early Head Start programs. So just want to thank you all for attending today's National ANA webinar. This has been a resource of the U.S. Administration for Native Americans, and we are proud to have been able to feature the ACF Office of Head Start and, of course, the excellent work that Ms. Nicole Boyd is doing at her school at Red Cliff. My name is Matthew Ng. I'm going to leave this contact information here on screen, and if you would like to contact any of today's presenters, please feel free to do so. Once again, this has been a presentation by the U.S. Administration for Native Americans, Native Language in Early Childhood Settings. Today is November 10th, 2016. Thank you very much for attending. Aloha.